Because I would like you to say hello to Sharon Sund. Sharon Sund is a candidate running for the nomination on the DFL side. She would like to ultimately win the final nod from the DFL party and be the candidate to run against Eric Paulson, the representative from the 3rd District. Sharon, welcome into AM 950. It's nice to talk to you.
Well, thank you, Nancy. I am happy to be on your show. I listen to it quite often, and this is a pleasure for me.
Sharon, you're a mother of 2. You've lived in Minnesota since 1976. You came here to go to school. Your credentials are rather impressive. You worked for the Minnesota Department of Natural Resources on developing a state watershed map. You developed a prototype battery for storing wind energy. You've been very involved in green energy efforts. You are outspoken about your belief that we've got to get this medical situation and the care of all of our citizens under wraps and well taken care of. And you are taken off after a Republican incumbent, and we know the Republicans will dump unbelievable sums of money that is unaccounted for as to its source to not allow you or someone from the DFL to beat Eric Paulson. Why do you think? I'll say this. I believe he is dangerous. I think he has harmed the state of Minnesota. I won't make you say that, but why do you think he needs to be gone?
Well, Nancy.
Yes. You're looking for ways to be a little diplomatic, but...
Absolutely. But I'm just going to put it straight. He's voting against our future.
Yes.
And let me tell you, when you vote against fair pay for women, now this is outrageous. He voted against the Lilly Ledbetter Act.
Yep, he sure did.
Fair pay for women. And let's look at this. He voted to support big oil, at the same time voting not to support green energy jobs, the future of our country. And then, Nancy, let's just talk about the Ryan budget, right?
Yes, the Paul Ryan budget.
Eric Paulson, Congressman Paulson, who is supposed to be representing us, voted against the Ryan budget, which ends Medicare as we know it.
He didn't vote against the Ryan budget. He voted
for it.
Yes.
Absolutely. And excuse me, thank you for the correction. He voted for the Ryan budget. And the Ryan budget ends Medicare as we know it. It cuts investment in public education, which is so huge for us here in the 3rd District. It cuts investment into research and development for our future.
Of course.
It cuts investment into infrastructure. That's what Eric Paulson's future looks like.
You know,
it isn't what we want to see here in the 3rd District. And Nancy, what about this payroll tax cut?
Yeah, he wants to vote against that, which would take at least $1,000 out of the hands of every worker in the United States of America. But he wants to extend the Bush tax cuts to the wealthiest permanently.
Absolutely. And so you see, we can all agree that he's not representing us. People here in the 3rd District, there are middle-class people, not just wealthy people that live in the 3rd District.
Exactly.
But the reality is I want to go to Washington to represent everybody in the district. But of the 1%, 60%, there was just a survey that said 60% of the 1% believe and want to have their taxes increased.
Yes, and that's really significant.
Absolutely. Yep. And that they believe that will help restore prosperity to everyone in our country. Everyone needs an opportunity for advancement.
They also know, don't they, Sharon, that with the kind of tax increases that are being discussed regarding that upper 1%, it would take us back. We're not talking about all of a sudden they're going to pay 80%. It would take us back to 36%, which is what Clinton did and pulled us out of this horrific deficit, balanced the budget, and left GW with an enormous surplus, all because we raised the taxes a little bit. And many, many, many wealthy people realize that if you raise those taxes, to that percentage, they're not even going to feel it.
Absolutely.
But it could bail this nation out of so much difficulty.
Well, it takes money in the economy in order to create jobs.
Of course.
People have to have money in their pocket. They start buying, and then entrepreneurs start coming up, and business owners start coming up with ways for them to spend their money. So they hire people and create jobs. The other thing, Nancy, that we need to be looking at that Eric Paulson is not doing is we need to look at how do we create and maintain 21st century jobs. Eric Paulson isn't doing anything for that. We need to bring manufacturing back to our shores in some form. I know we have a different economy now. We're on a different footing. But the undergirding of every economy is manufacturing.
Well, you may have seen the reports today. It was very interesting that when General Motors was about to fail, President Obama insisted that we bail them out. He said we cannot be a nation whose economy was vastly, greatly driven by the manufacture of the automobile, no longer manufacture automobiles. He was under unbelievable fire. He provided the bailout. They were able to thrive. Not only were they able to thrive, they paid us back with interest. And by the way, all the banks and the Wall Streeters that we bailed out, all they did was pay themselves billions in bonuses. They've never paid the American people back at all. And today the story was about how, while we almost lost the car industry, it is becoming something that we are now looking to again, as we used to, as the island of let's get there for the average working man and woman.
And Nancy, we can do that with green energy technology.
Yes.
We can do that. We had an opportunity to do that 25 to 30 years ago.
Jimmy Carter.
Yes,
Jimmy
and I
Carter
was
on
researching.
it.
I was doing that prototype battery and green energy, and we had the opportunity, but they cut that out, and they said that the United States was no longer going to be a manufacturing country. It was now going to be a service country. Our jobs were going to be service industry jobs. And you know what happened? They outsourced
everything.
The service industry jobs.
Yeah, of course they did. Of course they did.
If we had gotten into green energy then, we would be ahead of other countries.
Jimmy Carter was the one who was so far ahead. Jimmy Carter put solar panels on the roof at the White House. If we had followed Jimmy Carter, we wouldn't have an oil situation now. We would be green. But the first thing Ronald Reagan did when he came into office after Jimmy Carter was get those pesky solar panels off the White House roof. Finally, it's taken all that time from Reagan until Obama. Obama has them back up. Right. So that we don't run out of time, and you certainly don't need advice from me. I know that not only are you very up on all of this, you've studied it, you've studied Eric Paulson, you know how you're going to form your campaign. It seems to me that, may I suggest, one of the things that be considered as we do battle against Eric Paulson, there are so many things that are controversial. Taxes certainly are. A lot of people who would tend to vote Republican, if you say much of anything about taxes, they're going to vote Republican because they don't like what you said about taxes. A lot of them don't think that the green thing is as important as many of us do. But I believe the polls nationally show that the vast majority of people do not want anybody to touch their Social Security. So were I writing campaign commercials and heading this so that you could beat Paulson or our DFL nominee, and I know you're hoping it is you, I would dump all of the money into spots that said, Eric Paulson wants to end your future. He voted to end Social Security. I wouldn't say anything else because everything else is controversial. He wanted to end your Social Security. People will rail against that. So that's my advice.
Well, thank you. But Nancy, I want to say that when I go to Congress, what I want to focus on, and if I were there right now, I would be focused on jobs, jobs.
Of course.
And I will fight to protect Social Security and Medicare.
Sharon, I'm sorry, you hear the music, and darn it anyway. We'll certainly be talking again. In the meantime, can folks go to a website?
SharonSund.com.
And it is
And I will fight for the 3rd District. I will fight for every one of us here together.
Thank you,
Join
Sharon.
me. SharonSund.com. SUND. Thank you. Thank you, Nancy.
Thank you, Sharon. Good luck. AM 950 coming back.